Hey everybody, it's Todd with Sweet Tea Guitars. Welcome to my YouTube channel and into my life. And this is my life at this point. I absolutely love building guitars, and I love the fact that so many of you guys are willing to go on this journey with me. I can't tell you how much joy that brings to my life. Going into this knowing that it's a tutorial, you have to kind of expect that it's not going to be a 15-minute long video. If I was just trying to show what I was doing, I could fast forward it through everything, talk a little bit, show you my end result, and that would be that. But that's really not any fun for me, and I don't really see that as you guys getting anything from it. Why would you watch me build guitars just to watch me build guitars? I'm not Ben Crow. I'm not at that level yet. I'm trying to teach guys who don't know what I know at this point. I'm trying to get them up to the level that I'm at. And all the while, I'm trying to get myself further along in this as well. So, it's a symbiotic circle, in my opinion. I'm dependent on the guys ahead of me, and the guys below me are dependent on me to share that information, or the ones that choose to watch my videos anyway. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I hope you guys will stick with me through all this. I'm trying to turn Sweet Tea into a viable guitar company eventually. I'm not in a hurry to do that. As it stands now, I just want to learn as much as I can about guitar building. This video is going to be all about the body for the Riza build. This is a two-piece mahogany body with a book-matched flame maple top that I got from C. Jacobs Woods. We've talked about that already. I've got the neck pocket cut already. You'll see that process. This video is going to be getting this body routed, cut out. We'll dry fit the neck, mark up everything, do all our routes, rear route, the control cavities and all that stuff. What I've got done here, I've got a piece of 1/4-inch acrylic clamped to my neck. I've got a center line drawn on my neck all the way down the length of the neck. I've got it marked on the heel as well. I've got a center line scribed in this piece of acrylic. What I'm going to do with this thing is make a neck pocket routing template specifically for this neck. So I figured I would film this process as a part of this video and show you guys at least this method of how I go about making a template. What I'm going to do is run this piece of tape pretty close to the edge of where my neck is on that acrylic. I don't want it bunching up, and I for sure don't want it under it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side over here, just like that. Now, I'm going to take another piece of tape and run it across the front right here. And if this was a one-off thing and I was not planning on building any more guitars, I would be doing this directly to the top of the body. But I am actually really impressed with how this neck turned out, so I want to be able to duplicate it in the future. If I'm going to duplicate this neck, I should be able to also duplicate the neck pocket. So what we need to do is we're going to use the super glue and masking tape trick to attach this right up against the edge of our neck, nice and tight. Just like so. This is DAP Rapid Fuse super glue. It's really good super glue. Put that up against my neck, and I just want to make sure, as long as I've got a little hanging over on the end here, I'm fine. Just like so, so we're nice and attached. I want to do the same thing to this other piece here. Now we'll take, and this is just a strip of mahogany that's been run through the planer. They're just kind of leftover pieces that I had from when I was dimensioning down some wood. I'm going to mark that. We'll lop that off on the table on the bandsaw knee. Check our fit, and we're good. I'm going to take my little scribe, and we'll scribe this shape. And then I can kind of follow that with the router. So what this block will do is give us an area to make sure that we don't go too far. All right, now we should be good to take the clamp off. Everything seems to be nice and tight and firm. We're good. And I can feel that I had to move a little pressure on it to even get it out of there. So we're good. What we've created is a cavity right here that we need to cut out. So I don't want to hog all that out with the router. So we'll take it over to the bandsaw, and I can see my shape where I scribed that in on there. We'll be fine. I'll just kind of finesse that in with the router. It's mainly right here in these two corner sections. You know, it falls away a little bit differently than what the router bit radius is going to do for us. So I'll put a little bit smaller radius router bit in the router than I need. That way I can ride that corner around and you know, it not be an issue of having to change router bits halfway through or whatever, because the router bit I got in there is too big. Anyway, we'll take this over to the bandsaw, get this cut out, and we'll cut this finished shape out on the router table. There we go. I've cut most of that material away. I made sure I stayed off of the line I scribed in there. I'm really close on this side, but we're good. So now I'm going to set up the router table. I'll be right back. I wanted to make sure I get a nice snug neck fit on this thing. And in order to do that, I can do this one of two ways. I could have waited and applied some tape to the inside of this template after I cut it, and use that while I'm cutting the neck pocket on the actual body. But I figured the better way to do that is to put some tape on the inside of this so my bearing rides on that tape. I've got 2 layers, and what that does is give me a couple extra thousandths of shrink, so to call it, so I can make sure I've got a nice tight neck pocket fit. We'll check this on our neck before I go any further, and I will also finalize that hill shape before we actually take this to the body to route our neck pocket. So there we go. One neck pocket template made. I just want to get this lined up and draw off our neck pocket, just so we've got a reference. I want to mark at about 5/8 deep, which brings me to right here, if you can see that line. I need to get this hogged out. I need to at least get it to somewhere around that 5/8 depth. Now, once we mount the template, I won't take the template off until we're absolutely certain that either our neck pocket is at the depth it needs to be, or until it's deep enough that I can actually use the neck pocket itself as the template. As long as I stay inside this channel or inside my lines that I've got drawn, I'm not really too worried about this whole process. I'll basically take it to the depth to where the head of the Forstner bit is level with the top of the body. And there's what we got now. And I'll just hog that material out. That's all I've done. Now what we're going to do is mount our neck pocket template to our body. You want to make sure you've got that nice and firmly attached. So what I like to do is go ahead and set my router on the work surface, and now I've got enough of that bit poking through my base. That is the depth I'm at now. That allows me to use the gauge on the front of the Makita to know how much I'm taking at a time. So I like to take 3 or 4 millimeters per pass. I want to establish my neck pocket shape. So we don't really want to take any of the material out of the bottom at this point. What I was saying before I realized that I had not pressed the record button is the one thing I like to be absolutely certain that I do not do when I'm routing any cavity is I like to approach the perimeter or the edge of my route slowly. I don't go at it really fast. I don't want to hammer the bearing into the side of my template. It's just something to keep in mind, you know. Go slowly. You don't have to hurry. This is a labor of love. All right, I've got one more, maybe a 2 millimeter pass. The reason I like to cut my neck pocket before I cut out my body shape, obviously, there was an amount that I wanted to go into the body and still be able to encompass the length of the neck pocket. I wanted to make sure that I was joining the body at the proper distance and giving myself plenty of room to do the metal inserts in the back of the neck heel for this. So what we can do at this point is I can slide my neck into that pocket. We can check the center line. If the center line needs to shift ever so slightly, we can do that without compromising the end result of our guitar. Now, if you don't want it a 1/16 off or anything like that, but if it's a 32nd of an inch out of center, kicked one way or another, you can compensate for that without having to worry about string alignment and things like that, and any changes you need to make on the shape of your body because of that misalignment can be done now that we're dealing still with the body blank. So that's why I like to do it this way. That might be the best neck pocket I've ever cut. I mean, it's literally about as close to perfect as you're going to get. I cannot be happier about that. That is like fantastic. Another way you can do that, and there's a reason why I bought 2 of these 36-inch rulers like this. You can run these down the side of your neck like this and just let them ride on the side of your fretboard like so. You do the same thing on this side. Carry the ruler up to the nut line, hold it tight up against the side of the neck like so. Draw yourself a line. Now, what you've got at this point is a reference, and you can use either a center finding ruler, or in my case, I like using the Incra for this. We also want to measure from our nut line, and I like using millimeters, down the center line to 648 millimeters. And there we are. So now we can take the Incra line it up on that line at 648 that we just made. Make sure everything's lined up as it should be. I'm on the 0 up on this side. I'm splitting the line in half down here. I'm almost to the 8 on this side, past the 1, so 1 2/8, a quarter. I'm almost to the 1/8 on this side. I mean, it is literally perfect. I'm going to draw a line across here. There's our scale length. So now everything else that we do to this guitar can be determined by the center line on the body and that scale length. This is the point where I start getting really excited, because you can see for the first time the fruits of your labor. You know what I mean? You're getting to a point at this time that you can really start to see what it's going to look like. You start getting all these ideas about design and things you want to do to it. And in my case, and I'm sure everybody's like this as far as guitar builders go, I start getting, this is the point of the build where I start getting really great ideas for builds on down the line. And I try to make a mental catalog of those things so I don't forget about them, you know, because it's kind of like songwriting. You got to write this stuff down or develop yourself a system internally that you don't lose all this information. You know what I mean? So it's one of those kind of things. I thought about playing around with this body shape a little bit more, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it like that. I like that smooth flowing curve that it has. Since it's getting a Tele bridge and the Tele pickup set, I wanted it to be round and fluid. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm shooting for. I'm meeting the body at the 17th fret, not at the 16th. The reason I did that, and it was meant to be that way, is because that gives you, if you'll see where this bottom horn comes up at right here, since I'm using those threaded metal inserts to attach this neck to the body, this is a 21 fret guitar, so you can see right there, you've got really great access to that last fret, or those last few frets actually. That is the reason why I joined the body at the 17th fret instead of the 16th. You know, there's really not much keeping us at this point from cutting this body out. So I think that's probably what we need to get done. I'll feel more comfortable and I'll feel like things are starting to come together once I get this body cut out. We've got the body cut out. There it is. It looks like a rat chewed this thing. It looks like a rat chewed the excess wood off of this thing just because of that bandsaw. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take this thing to the spindle sander and start refining this shape. Let's get our spindle sander set up. And I'm going to use the bench top for this particular operation, even though I've got that new Triton that I was gifted from Crimson. But I think the tabletop spindle sander is going to do a better job for us on this particular operation. I need to change drums on the spindle sander so we can get down in up in here a little better and at our lower cutaway. And I've got some contour ideas I'm going to do on this thing too. So before you decide whether or not you like that shape, wait till I get the contours done, then make your decision. I've changed over to a 2-inch drum from the 2.5-inch, We're gonna catch the cutaway and this upper little bow part right here, and I'm gonna work on this shape just a little. Then we'll take a chisel and pare this away. That meat that's left right there on the side of the neck pocket, I did not want to run into that with the bandsaw. So we'll get that out manually. Let's get this finished up.
By motion, with rain clouds in the way, a snapshot through the window for an expose.
That's what we're looking at right there. I think I'm gonna love it. Let's take a look at it with the neck. But before I do that, I think I want to pare away this little section right here. I don't want to break that off. I just want to pare it away. Let me get my little saw. All right. This is the Riza. And I'm gonna have to look at it and stare at it and think about it. But I like the curvy roundness of it. I really do. I like that shape when I first drew it. I want to make sure that these contours at this point are the same distance from the center line on this dip. And they look like they're pretty good as it stands right now. They look pretty symmetrical. But if you're not careful when you're doing a freestyle build like this, you really need to concentrate on keeping everything symmetrical, because I even heard Ben Crow say a guitar design needs to possess forward momentum. So it almost needs to look like it's moving. Now that can change whether you're left-handed or right-handed, but ultimately the design of a guitar needs to possess forward momentum, and I agree with that statement, which is why I don't personally care for an SG design, for instance, where both the cutaways are symmetrical, or a double cutaway guitar where both sides are the same. I don't really like that. There's no forward momentum in it. Don't hate me, SG guys. SGs play lovely. I love the way an SG plays, but I'm not really a fan of that body shape. Anyway, whatever. This guitar is gonna have aspects of a vintage, it's gonna have a vintage vibe to it, which is one of the reasons why I kind of chose this curvy, rounded design. To me, it looks kind of 70s, you know? And I'm into that. You know, I'm pretty much a product. I was born in '68, but I'm pretty much a product of the 70s. I remember the 70s. And so this is kind of my tribute to that era of my life. Of the 70s were a great time. This is kind of what is driving me inspirationally on this guitar. What I'm thinking about doing is cutting a relief right back in this area. And I've made a template, and I'm going to film a whole series eventually just on template making. But for now, I drew out a shape on this piece of 1/2" MDF, and I worked on this with the spindle sander and got it to where it was nice and fluid, and there were no sharp or flat spots in it or anything like that. This is a round end. It's just a cove bit. I've put a bearing on there. This is way too tall, so I'm gonna have to raise my template up on the body. But I'm gonna show you guys how I plan to do that. I'm just gonna line this up here. Let's put some tape down so we can super glue and masking tape trick this board to the body. We'll do the same thing to one side of this board. Pretty close to the edge there, so I don't have to guess at where I'm at. The other piece I'm going to do kind of like that, or actually probably more like that. That way I've got some support. I'm going to draw myself a line and know where I'm at. We'll take another piece of tape, lay this down that line right there, burnish the tape down just like so. Now I've got plenty of support for the router to ride on. I'm going to flip this around, make sure I'm nice and solid. And before I go any further, I want to check the depth, and I'll spin this back around so you guys can see. I want to check and make sure that this bearing is going to ride on the side of this MDF when I get the router bit to the depth that I want it at. You know, I got to see how deep it will allow me to go. Plenty deep enough. I will not have to remove this template for this process. So there's the bottom. And I don't like taking more than a 3 or 4 millimeter cut. So let's go 1, 2, 3.5 for that first pass. And now let's check our depth and make sure our bearing's going to ride. We're good. All right, that looks good. So all I want to do now is get that cove cut in. Then I'll change over to a top bearing but bottom cleaning bit, something like that, but a wider diameter. Take a pencil and just draw in what we want to do here. We'll just work a little bit on this with the sandpaper. All right, guys, we're looking really good. So that's what I've got going on. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think that is really cool looking. I've got a line right here on the side of the neck pocket. That line is where my neck actually comes to. So I've got some work to do on that area. I'm just not going to do it until I start dry fitting the neck and getting everything like it needs to be. I went ahead and started cutting in this little flow in. I call it an access contour. That's nice and comfortable. That's what I was after. So if you'll see what I've done here, I've drawn these two lines right here on both sides. I'm going to fade that in from the maple into the mahogany so you see both woods from the front. And I think that's going to create some interesting character once I start putting some stain and some finish on this body. So let's get after this. I'm going to break this corner off first. So I may switch over to the shin toe. Need a little bit more progressive downward angle. All right, so that's pretty much what I'm after right there. That. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. All right, so there we go. We're getting really close on this guitar. I got an Aura Pure hand wound. They are wax potted, I can see it. And it is a 4 conductor humbucking pickup. I got this pickup so I could use a tele bridge and still have a pretty hot output. Now this pickup comes in at like, I think it's 11K, which gives you some indication that it's a hot output pickup. Not always the case. You can't always take to the bank what the ohm reading is on a pickup. Sometimes just because it says 15 or 16K, it's probably really loud. But a lot of pickups, if they're not really, really well potted and really, really carefully wound, a lot of pickups, once you get up above 12K, they can get really dirty really fast. And they can also suffer from major microphonic issues up in that resistance range. So what I've chosen to do is use a standard 2-conductor single coil pickup in the neck position that's more along the 8.5, 9K output range. And then I'll use that hotter output tele bridge pickup. So what I've done over the past hour or so, I made a template to route a single coil into the neck position for this guitar. And I have measured exactly 1 inch away from where my neck ends. Some guys like to butt the pickup right up against the end of the neck to get it as close to the 12th fret as possible. It may not be quite as warm as it would be if I moved it up against the neck. My truss rod access is in the heel of this neck, so I need room right here to route my adjustment access into this body. I like to have a little bit more meat in between where the neck pocket ends and where the neck pickup is. I did the same thing on my GGBO build, and that guitar, the neck pickup in that guitar, which is a Mojo tone, it's a 58 quiet coil single coil. That guitar sounds great, and it's set up the same way, 1 inch away from the end of the neck pocket. So let's get this done. What I'll do before I start putting pickups in, I'll go around here and chamfer this edge, but that's how I like to do it right there. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. You guys can see, you know, some of that contouring that I've got going on. So I've been thinking, and I've got my pickup cavity for my neck pickup cut, and if you can see right there, I've rounded. I'm not done yet, but I've started rounding over those edges to kind of carry forward the whole round, smooth, flowing shape thing that I got going on with this guitar. So there we go. There is my route for the bridge pickup, and it turned out really nice. It's nice and clean. 3 through holes, no tear out. Very good. Let's get this cavity routed. There is our shelf for our cover and the start to the rest of our route. And that appears to have hugged my contour quite nicely. And what I've decided I'm going to do about that, in case you guys are wondering, I'm going to kind of fade my contour into the cover plate, so the cover plate's actually part of the contour. And then I'll create a little dip right in this area somewhere, so you can stick your finger in and pull the cover off it when you need to. All right, let's make this other pass and get this done. That bit that I was using is an 1.5 inch depth of cut. It's right there. 1.5 inch depth of cut, 1/4 inch shank. I have to say that these Tideway carbide bits that I got on eBay, and I know I keep talking about them, but they continue to impress. That's the first time I've used that 1.5 inch depth of cut, and that thing is a monster. There's my cavity. I like it. I've got my maple stripes right here in the middle. I want for my threaded metal inserts to be ultimately in the center of the 2 outside walnut pieces. So what I'm going to do is I am going to mark myself a reference right here on the back of the neck to where those maple stripes are. And if at all possible, and it looks like it will be, I want to avoid those. So what I can kind of do is just mark these over to the front, just like that. So now I can see where those 2 marks are. And we'll take our ruler, and I'll just use a visual reference and mark out where the maple is in the bottom of my neck pocket. If I wanted to put 1 in the center here and 2 back here, or vice versa, 2 back here and 1 up here, I could do that. I am going to use M5 screws for this. Now I normally use M6, but I think the M5 is going to give me a little bit more room to play with. So what I'm going to do is recess these billet aluminum washers into the back of my body right here. So what I want to do at this point, and you can see my little dimples that I've got in the body here. Got 2 up here, 1 right here. What we need to do is drill some pilot holes, and I want them to be large enough that the end of my Forstner bit will find it, but not so large that it allows my Forstner bit to wobble. Let's get our 3mm brad point bit loaded in our drill press. All right, so what we're going to do is just drill those 3mm pilot holes through here. Then we can turn this over. We'll have a locator point for where our Forstner bit needs to cut in the recess for those billet washers, which will act as our neck bushing. I'm absolutely going to use a backer board for this. Just a piece of MDF I got right here, so we minimize tear out. Plus that gives me a nice stable surface to make sure that my drill bit's going where I want it to. Almost knocked my coffee over. That'd been a catastrophe. Not because coffee went everywhere, but because I would have spilled my coffee. So let's load our Forstner bit into the drill press now, and we can drill in the recesses into the back. And we'll start with this center. All right, so now that we've got those holes drilled in there, and I like that, I like the way that looks. So now what we need to do is take that drill bit out and mount our 5mm bit, and then go down through there and enlarge the holes that we're going to, that our neck screws are going to run through. I would rather have a little bit of slack room in case we need to make just a tiny adjustment to the neck alignment. So then what I can do is use this same drill bit to go down through those holes, mark out my neck where the threaded metal inserts are going to need to be. I'm getting excited. We're to the point now where things are starting to happen. I love building guitars, I do. I can't wait to get started on this next one. I don't want to rush myself through it, but I just love doing this. The one cool thing about a twist drill bit is it will find that indention where the that the brad point left. All right, so let's check and make sure our 5mm bolt's going to go through this hole. So my measurements were correct when I ordered these bolts, and that gives me a good 5mm up into the insert to make sure that I'm getting good contact. All right, so there we are. Holes drilled, recesses in. There's a little roughage around those holes right there. I'm gonna take my countersink, and I'll just do this by hand. Just chamfer the edge of that hole a little. Sweet T0002, because this is my second guitar as a company. And it was conceived and started, actually conceived and started in July, but it's August now. So my neck pockets signed, we're good. I'll take my little mallet that Preston Golightly made me. There's mark number 1, straight up and down. Mark number 2, mark number 3. Now we pop the clamp off. I see the holes, they're in the center, are the indentions. And there we go. Just like so. So now we're ready to drill these inserts into the back of this neck. These are carbon steel. Let's find out the diameter of this thing. Inside the threads, 576, and at the widest point, 9.42. I am going to use an 8mm. You don't want them so tight that they start breaking wood apart. That gives me enough of a space to get that first taper down inside the hole, and then these can bite into the wood once they're inside there. I've got a 12-inch radius sanding block that I'm going to use as a backer board to keep my neck level as I drill these holes in here. All right, so I've got my metal inserts in. They're perfect, no issues. What I will do now, just to make sure these are even, I'm going to run some sandpaper across the top of here. Not enough to change this symmetry of my neck, but just any little spot that may be sticking up, that assures us that that does not become an issue. There we are, my friends. I don't have the washers in there yet, but those work. I think what I want to do at this point is work on this back cover, because when I go to sand the rest of this back, I would really like to be able to put that cover on there and sand it as one piece so it stays exactly level with the surface of the back of the body. Let's get this cover cut out.
These are the times we will remember. Can I stop? Can I stop?
What I want to do at this point is check it against my body and make sure that I'm not undersized anywhere. So let's lay that on there, and I want to make sure I don't see any gaps, and I don't. So we're going to start sanding and getting that as close to those lines as we possibly can, and see if we can't get this you know, as close to perfect as we can, really. I really prefer that it be perfect. But cutting a back cover out of wood, some people make it look really easy, but it is far from easy. It is really, really difficult. All right, and let's just have a go at it. I worked on this thing for literally a couple of hours, and it's got to be sanded, but it fits beautifully. I've got a finger access here. We need to drill some holes in for our string through ferrules in the back. Let me get everything set up. I'll come right back. We'll do these string throughs. I'll see you guys in just a minute. I bought a new tool today. I got down here last night and I was getting ready to drill my string through holes in my body because I'm using a traditional telly style bridge. And I discovered that the little 8-inch Harbor Freight tabletop drill press that I had was not deep enough. In other words, the spindle's not far enough away from the main post to allow my guitar to go far enough back to drill the hole. I today went and bought a new drill press. I read the reviews on this thing. I got a really good deal on it. I needed something benchtop, as you guys can see from my videos that I post. Space is at a premium in here. So anyway, I bought myself a new drill press. It's big enough to pretty much reach any position on a guitar that I'll ever need to drill a hole using a drill press. I've got it placed. I've got a clamp on here. One cool thing I really like about this drill press, it has got a laser. And I have checked it, and this laser is pretty much dead accurate, which is really hard to believe from a drill press at this price point. We're good to go, so let's drill a hole. I'm going all the way through the body. I've got a backer board on here. That one went exactly as I had hoped. And you can kind of double check yourself just by barely scratching the surface and seeing how close you are to the actual hole. All right, I'm really happy with how this is going so far. They look nice and aligned. These two right here are the ones I'm drilling in. I'll look nice and aligned on the back, so we're good. I'm just gonna keep on going. There we are. I'm happy. So I've been giving this a lot of thought about what kind of woods I'm gonna use on this next build, the build I'm calling at this point the Requiem build. I've got my neck blank right here. This again is a 5-piece walnut, purple heart, and 4A flame maple that I got from C. Jacobs Woods. This is beautiful, beautiful wood. As you can see, I've already got it all glued up. It's ready to roll. I've got my shape drawn out on there. I've got where my nut line's gonna be. This one's getting the Sweet Tea headstock, which I have become quite fond of. It leaves me room up in this area to carve in my logo. And I like it. I like a 3x3 headstock anyway, and I think it kind of looks cool on a guitar that's kind of based on a Fender style neck, at least, where everything's parallel to each other. No matter what kind of guitar I build from now on, whether it be a back angled headstock or a flat one, will probably have this 3x3 Sweet Tea headstock on it, unless someone requests a different style. So that is my neck. So thinking about the fact that I've got that purple heart and the walnut strips run through the middle of this neck, honestly, what I'm thinking about doing on this guitar, I went and picked up yesterday, I bought a 10-foot long board of this. This is soft maple, 8/4 board. It's 8 inches wide, or 7 7/8 wide. I needed some body wood. Well, I've got poplar, I've got mahogany, I've got a couple of pieces of canary left, and I wanted something different. I wanted a nice white wood, other than poplar, something that would be a little bit harder, but not super, super heavy. I wanted it light, so it would accept stain color, and I could have an open palette for what color I wanted to make it. That's why I got maple. This particular board right here has got some really nice cathedraling going on right here. And I can look at the side of that grain and tell that that cathedraling runs well into halfway through this 8/4 board right here. I think I could split this board in half and make myself 3 top sets out of this board right here. So I am honestly thinking that I may use that top on the Requiem build. Considering the majority of this neck is going to be made out of flame maple, use a 2-piece maple body with the center strip, maybe 2, divided by another piece of maple, multi-laminate body blank, and then cap this with a book match top made out of this canary. I think that will look really awesome against that purple, the purple heart and the walnut. I think that'll give me some really interesting natural tones, color-wise, to this guitar. It is Saturday, August the 28th. Let's go get this dumped into the timeline, get a video edited, and see if I can't get a video posted by Monday. All right, everybody, this is Todd from Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little while and checking out my video. I hope you guys learned something. I'll be back with my next video as soon as I can possibly get it. That will be the body construction, body and neck prep for the Requiem build. But for now, I want you guys to remember, no matter what you do in your life, if it is driven by passion and involves artistic vision, give all of yourself to that. And in the end, the only person you're really trying to please is you. Anything that comes from that effort will be exactly as it should be. Peace and love.